everyone. I wanted to create a video really quick to show you my newest book. I haven't really decided on a name yet. Unfading Beauty keeps coming to mind, and I'm probably going to go with that. But by the time I upload this video, I'll have a name. So let's jump right into it. If you follow my art at all, you know that I have a love for nature, among many other things, but nature is a strong one. You know, trees happen to be one that speaks a lot to me, along with the roots and things like that, and the symbolisms that they stand for. And each person may, you know, interpret that differently. Okay, so for my cover, I decided on the words, I am still counting my blessings. When I create my pieces of art, and maybe this will kind of answer a couple questions I've been getting recently. They're based on my journey, my experiences, my thoughts, things like that. So when I create books, especially, you're only getting tidbits of maybe that story or that event or that moment in time. And it may speak to you in a way that may feel like I'm telling part of your story, and I think that's great. Or it may just be where you're just drawn to it because of the elements that play out through the piece. But regardless of the fact, a lot of times people are asking me, where do you come up with your ideas? Where do you come up with piecing your things together? When I'm telling my story, it's things that implement elements from that story. So I have a tree, and it was on a walk that I end up where, as I was, you know, discussing things with God and, you know, counting my blessings, and waha, here comes the scene. It was, you know, on the spine, a stick that I collected along the way, but the stick actually had a crack in it. Well, how many of us sometimes feel like we've been beaten up, or we feel like, man, you know, getting through that trial was something. I need some TLC. So I decided not to discard it. It really spoke to me, but I didn't know when I was going to implement that stick into a piece of art. So when this one started playing out, I knew that I couldn't leave it in the shape that it was. It needed some TLC. That, of course, played into, you know, the discussion I was having as I was walking through nature and everything. Birds, you know, I'm, you know, drawn to birds. So I've created, let me pull this up, one of my clay birds, okay? And I added it to here. So again, when you're wondering how I'm creating all these different elements, and when I teach my book classes, I try to explain this more in depth. The layers and everything, they symbolize different things to me. Words that poke out, you know, they symbolize. How much of push and give do I leave in a painting? It depends on what message, what feeling I'm trying to implement, implement, I guess is a great word, to come across to not only myself, to the viewer. Because regardless if I choose to sell this book or not, I still want it to speak its message to me, the feeling to me. So it doesn't matter if nobody else gets it. Is it telling my story? That's the most important thing to me. And when you take out what everybody else thinks, will they like it? Will they get it? When you eliminate that from when you're creating a piece, all of a sudden you're able to, at least for my experiences through the 30 some years, is it's able to tap more into your creativity, because you're no longer worrying about, did I get their message in? Are they going to understand what I'm trying to say? I would love for everybody to love my pieces, but that is not my goal. My goal is to express what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I'm experiencing in that moment, or that time period, that trial, you know, that struggle, whatever it is. It could be something good. It doesn't always have to be something bad. But regardless of the fact of, when I can eliminate what the rest of the world thinks, and I focus on what it is that I'm trying to get out of it, all of a sudden my voice really is able to really come and shine through the piece. And I believe that through the years, that's why a lot of people feel like they can relate to it. Because we all do go through similar struggles or trials, or, you know, even good things too. Okay, so enough of that. I was hoping I could maybe answer a couple questions, and that might help. So from this point, I added many layers of mediums and paints and, some ribbon, like that. So we'll move on. So here, I really like this page, and the story begins. And I just happened to be from this big sheet. It was a drafting from some architectural thing that I found. I didn't realize until after I glued this down, it says front entrance. I think that is so cool. But see, those are happy accidents that happen. Okay. And then my bowls that I carved, stamps, I carved those. And then I stamped them. Okay. And I also left it where you can go behind here. Okay. And then I came in and I used some Indian ink and did some writing. I incorporated elements, fabrics that I went on my travels overseas to France. Okay. I love the raw stitching. These are things that all speak to me. Okay. And if you ever follow my art, you know that I love layers. And the reason, gosh, you know, I've been creating for over 30 years. Many years ago, the reason why I started implementing and creating pieces this way is because we're made up of so many layers. Through our experiences, through our trials, through the joys, the things that help us grow, stretch our wings, different things like that. So I wanted that because that's what I was feeling when I created books started creating them years ago. I wanted to implement that feeling into it. So that is where all those years ago, I started creating all these layers that you started, you see different sizes and different, looks and words and tidbits and things like that. That's how that came into play. Okay. I created packets so you can collect things. Okay. Here's some more writing with Indian ink. And then I left it so you can do some under here. Okay. This talks about shadows of the evening and how as we go to, birds and beasts and flowers will soon be asleep. And it all kind of ties into over here. Sunsets are proof that endings can be beautiful too. Okay. And then some more old fabrics. This is from a remnant from a dress that dated late 1800. I thought that was so sweet. Okay. This was a drawing I did. She's an old soul with young eyes and a vintage heart and a beautiful mind, learning to let go of my fear and embrace my moment. How sweet is that? And I like this scene because it speaks to me. Use the talents you possess, for the woods would be silent if no birds sing except the best. I love that. Okay, so this happens to be resin on old vintage paper. How sweet is that? I love that transparency. Okay. And then, I get things, whether they're, through trades or, things through the mail. One time, this has been a while, but I received this on a package. And so I cut it down, add some buttons and did a little bit here and there and implemented this. I listened to the trees breathing in the stillness. And then that intrigues you to want to come over here. Now, I did show this. I started with this book cover on maybe last year. I don't even remember. And no matter how many times I kept trying to implement it into a book itself, all by itself, it never seemed to work. So I knew that it wasn't meant to be. So I had to just put it off to the side until that time came. Well, as I was creating this book, all of a sudden, this started tugging at me that it belonged somewhere in here. So all of a sudden, it's like, oh my gosh, so of course, what do? I implement it. Now, this is a lot of different elements here because this is when I was over in France and I, traveled and took a lot of photos and everything. I'm really big about buildings and different things. All this stuff was on a building. So I took this and I photographed this. This is actually a different whole photograph in a different section somewhere else. And I implemented those two together. So how sweet is that? This actually is on fabric. Okay. I just loved how those two blend together, the way that I created it with some paints and, some mediums, got them in there. So love that. And then I just carried over it further by painting and adding some pages, doing some more. This is part of, it's part of another section in this building that I found that had a lot of, people would scratch into the stone and everything. So then I went into Photoshop, and I just tweaked the colors just a little bit because I wanted to change them from the sepia tone that they were on the building. I wanted to just bring it out in a little bit of a different way. So it tied into this page over here, which I loved. Okay. And then on the back side, I carried a little bit of that over, but again, we're back to nature again and sweetly singing. And then I did writing all over. Let's see if I can read this. You are found in the details of my story. How sweet is that? And then this old paper, and then nice little tag in here that says no birds soars too high if he soars with his own wings. How sweet is that? Okay. And then I found sweet peace. Just some more blank pages for if I choose to sell it, then the person who gets it can add their stamp to it, you know, whether it's through images or drawings or words, whatever. Now, again, you probably saw this through a different post that I did. Again, I created this and it was supposed to be a book all by itself. Again, no matter what I did, I couldn't bring it together. I don't force things to come together just to make it happen. I believe that it will sing its song to me when it's time. So again, I'm putting this all together and I happened to come across this and it just kept tugging at me. But I really did not want to add it in this book. I just kept fighting back and forth. But I finally said, you know what? I'm going to lay it in here. I'm going to walk away, take a break, come back. And when I did, all of a sudden, looking at all these layers and seeing this and then going through all these pages, it just felt like it belonged and I had to go with that. Okay. And then I end up writing, sometimes it takes only one song to bring back 1,000 memories. And then when you turn it over, again, more fabrics that came from my trip in France, but find the joy in the journey, choose to live in the moment. How sweet is that? And then again, when you go backwards, you can see all these different yummy layers. Okay. That's the way that I like to create. I like to create in a way that causes the viewer to want to, after they look at it, I have to go back and look at it again because, oh my gosh, I saw something new. I didn't see that before. And wait a minute, what's that again? Let me go back and look. And then that's not including when you look this way, seeing all the yumminess going this way. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for coming along to take a peek at this newest book. And if I do sell it, it will be on my website. But again, you know, if it sells, it won't be there. But thanks. Okay. Have a good one.